Hello everyone who picked pile 1. If you're here, you're in the right place. So today's topic is who is someone that likes you right now? You might already know who this person is, or honestly, you might not. So let's take a look and see who this person could be. In the first line, I'm looking at whether there is someone who likes you and what kind of person they are. And the moment I look at this card flow, the energy just pulls very strongly in one direction. And for this pile, it really doesn't feel like a current talking stage or an active, ongoing connection where things are flowing. This feels much closer to a past connection. Overall, the vibe is very much like we are once pretty close, but now we are both standing in our own place, a little more distant. There are definitely shared memories and a sense of familiarity still there, but instead of feeling warm and connected, it feels more like lately contact has slowed down, the timing to reach out feels awkward, and even though you both think about each other, but reality has created this kind of distance. Before, you could talk naturally and easily, but now there's these feelings like, what if I bring something up and it just make things weird? And that awkwardness is sitting there. So you both kind of stay where you are, focusing on your own lives, but every once in a while, you still think of each other. If this really is someone from your past, it looks like they miss the time they had with you. They feel lonely because you're not there, and they do think about a future with you at some point. So let's talk about what kind of person this is. This person has a very classic personality where on the outside they can come across as a bit cold, but on the inside they're actually very warm. Their way of expressing things might feel blunt, reserved, or even emotionally distant at times, but once you really know them, you realize they're incredibly deep and kind. They're also very responsible and realistic, the type who plans things carefully and moves with intention. They don't really talk big. They prefer to show things through actions, consistency, and reliability. They're not someone who shows off or make a big deal out of themselves. They spend a lot of time thinking things through. They look at the situation first before speaking, and they care quite a bit about responsibility and their image and how things look on the surface. Emotionally, this person has a strong attachment to the past, to familiar people, to familiar environment, and to relationships that already have a history. They value long-standing emotional connection much more than new ones. So they don't keep a wide social circle. Instead, they prefer a small number of people they truly trust. Surprisingly, their emotional side is actually quite pure. When they look at people, they often judge them based on how things were during the good times. And this person really needs time alone to sort through their thoughts. When their emotions shake or they're dealing with the inner conflict, they don't immediately talk it out. They go quiet, they pull back, and they observe and organize their thoughts internally. So, for someone close to them, it can feel like, why did they suddenly go quiet? But it's not because their feelings disappeared, it's more because they don't want to make light or careless decisions. On the outside, they seem calm, but inside, they're actually thinking a lot and being very cautious about their conclusions. Emotionally speaking, this person has a pretty strong self control, consideration for others, and emotional maturity. They don't show extreme emotional ups and downs. And, even they are upset, they try to suppress it and process it on their own, than, exploding things. They also try to consider the other person's perspective. So this really feels like someone who is warm and mature on the inside but can look cold because they struggle with expression. If you don't get close to them, their true personality is hard to see. As for how they see you, the impression is very much like you were someone who left a big mark on me. Even though they feel it's realistically hard to get close to you right now, they haven't cut you off. They still remember you as someone mature and warm, and there's a respectful distance than resentment. Okay, now let's look at how this person is likely to act. In terms of behavior, they're not going to rush into changing anything or making clear decisions. On the outside, they may seem indifferent, and their reaction might feel less responsive than before. But this is not because their feelings are completely gone, it's more like they're intentionally putting their emotions away, just for now. They're avoiding taking the lead to shift the vibe or move the relationship forward. Instead, they're choosing to observe this connection from a step back, keeping some distance. Internally, they're weighing whether this relationship should continue or just remain as a part of their history. They're not willing to disrupt the routine, their life, their environment they've already built. They're only willing to keep the relationship if it can fit inside the structure. Because of that, their actions stay minimal. They say only what's necessary and they try to avoid unnecessary conversation as much as possible. The frustrating part is that this person barely reveals their true feelings. They don't clearly express what they're thinking or what conclusion they're leaning toward. Even when asked directly, they tend to respond like, vaguely or adjust their words depending on the situation. They don't fully choose to leave, but they also don't step in deeply. So, from the other person's perspective, it can feel constantly confusing. Ultimately, this flow shows someone who is maintaining the position that feels safest and most advantageous for themselves, while keeping the relationship attached. They delay making a clear choice, hide their emotions, and manage the connection in a very ambiguous middle ground. That pattern is likely to continue. Now, let's look at how this relationship might move forward in the next line. There is a strong possibility that this connection will face one more major shakeup. As real life responsibilities and burdens in both of your lives become heavier, the energy leans more toward like, maybe it's time we each go on our way, rather than trying to hold on the relationship. In some cases, this shows up as a brief exchange of messages where you talk about the past one last time and then close the chapter and it's over. And in other cases, it's more like drifting apart quietly without words and organizing everything internally. So the pile number one is clearly closer to the second type. Not because the feelings are gone, as I said, but because both of you understand that this was a connection that already passed through its time. Rather than trying to pull it back, the energy leans toward more like, this is where it ends. And especially with the Tower and Death showing up at the end, this is not a small adjustment. It's a structural breakdown and transformation of the relationship itself. It may feel sudden, like a specific event or conversation. It's the result of long accumulated pressure. The relationship could fully end, or even if it doesn't become total no contact, it will not continue in its current form. The way you communicate, define the relationship, the roles you play, all change. This is not a reset. It's more like a reversible step. Whether this becomes a reunion or a complete ending, it depends on whether there's a willingness to rebuild after the tower moment. And that's honestly a whole different topic, so it would be better explored in another reading. So since today's topic was about someone who likes you right now, and I was kind of hoping for a lighter outcome too, but this one came out heavy because it's from the past connection. But like the oracle message that came out at the very beginning, listen closely to what your heart has been trying to tell you. Maybe right now, instead of focusing on this person, it's time to look at your own heart a little more closely. And I think this is the message you need right now. That was a part one. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next reading. Bye. Hello, everyone who picked pile number 2. If you're here, you're in the right place. Today's topic is who is someone that likes you right now. You might already know who this is, or you might not. Either way, let's take a look and see what kind of person this is and what's going on. So the first line, I'm looking at whether there's someone who likes you and what kind of connection this is. This flow here is more like there's still some kind of an ongoing link, like you're still in the same space or still running into each other, or at least still very aware of one another. It's not a super relaxed or natural though. It feels like both of you are a little guarded, but at the same time very aware of each other. So on the outside, you both seem fine, but internally, there's a lot of how does that person see me going back and forth. There's this tension in the distance between you. It feels like a connection where roles, positions, or responsibilities are involved. So you cannot just act purely on emotion. So, okay, for example, this could be someone from the same workplace, the same organization, or someone where you already know each other's character too well, which actually makes it harder to approach it casually. Still, it doesn't feel cut off. There are moments where your eyes really meet and lock in, like the awareness is for real. So, the next part, let's look at this person's personality and traits. So this person has a pretty strong personality. They have clear standards, often take on leadership roles or position where they hold things together, and they are not someone who gets emotionally shaken easily. So from the outside, they look confident and sure of themselves, and their tone and attitude can come across as very clean, composed, and decisive. But on the inside, they have a strong sense of pride and don't like showing vulnerability. So even if they like someone, instead of expressing it openly, they tend to try to control the situation first. And also, I can sense their first impression is usually calm and well balanced. They don't overdo emotional expression, like, you know, and they're good at staying in the middle line with their words and actions. They don't say things that disrupt the mood, and they're very good at smoothing situation out. So if this person is in a work setting, this is the type of person that people say like things are easier when they are around, and you almost never see them lose control or explode emotionally. So on the surface, they always seem stable. But interesting thing is this person does care a lot about recognition and self-worth. Even if they don't show it, they want confirmation that their choices and actions were not wrong. They're quite sensitive to how others see them, to evaluation and results, and they want to maintain the image of I'm someone who has accomplished things. So because of that, they pay a lot of attention to their reputation, their position, and overall image in general. What's really interesting about this person is that they are usually very restrained, but once they decide on a direction, they can move very suddenly. They might endure, adjust, and hold things very long time. But the moment they feel like, okay, this is not it, they can flip the table without much explanation or suddenly change direction completely. So once they reach a conclusion internally, even if it looks, abrupt from the outside, for them it's already finished emotionally. Big changes in movement, distance, or attitude can happen all at once. So, looking at their inner world, they are quick minded and very observant, but they are not a fully mature level of confidence yet. Because of that, they ask a lot of questions, keep reinterpreting situation, and sometimes their words or actions can feel a bit light. When they are serious, they are very serious. But when they are unsure, they can change what they say or adjust their attitude pretty quickly. They are curious, they think a lot. They are not the type to fully expose emotional depth. Depending on how you see it, they might even come across as little immature emotionally at times. As for how they see you, the feeling is very much like, yes, I'm aware of you, and you're not someone I can treat lightly. You're not an easy, casual target for them. You're someone they need to think about twice and approach carefully. So now let's look at how this person is likely to act going forward. This person is likely to repeat a pattern where they want to move straight toward you and then immediately hit the brakes themselves. In the moment, they might feel drawn to you and say or do something impulsively, but right after that, they might think like, okay, I shouldn't show this much, and pull back and change their attitude. So, from your perspective, one day they may seem warm and kind and sweet, attentive, and another day they might suddenly draw a line or, cold. It can look like a push and pull or mixed signals, and that would be definitely confusing for you. This is something where we really need to look at the overall relationship flow. This connection doesn't move quickly into a, labeled relationship from the start. This person is attracted to you, they're interested, and they do have real feelings. But it's not like they're thinking, okay, I'm going to make this relationship right now. So in the early stage, even though the attraction is clear, the relationship may stay at ambiguous temperature, no clear confession, no solid promises. The boundaries between friend zone, talking stage, and partner can stay blurry for a long time. But as you know, the time goes on. This relationship reaches on crossroads. At that point, instead of moving, purely on emotion, this person starts asking themselves whether the relationship is manageable, whether it feels like a burden, or whether it could come back as emotional damage. Because of that, they may move one step slower than you or hesitate at the key moments. That's not because they like you less, but because they're not someone who enters a relationship easily. So, in the end, this relationship is likely to solidify into one to two form. One possibility is that you do become a couple, but at a slow pace, with a restrained expression and very steady energy. There may not be a big event or dramatic moments, but the relationship can settle into something consistent and stable over time. But as I said, it's very slow. Even then, this person tends to wait for things to concrete rather than pushing forward. So defining the relationship may take longer. The other possibility is that the feelings are clearly there, but the relationship never fully enters the partner frame and remains ambiguous. You care about each other, you don't completely drift apart, but the decisive step never happens, leaving you somewhere between friend and lover. In this case, it's not that feelings disappear, it's more about timing and choice locking the relationship into place. So, the most important point in this reading is not how much this person likes you, it's whether they can create the courage and timing to choose the relationship. This connection doesn't automatically become a relationship just because feelings exist. Someone has to define it and set the direction. That could be this person, or depending on the situation, it could be you. And because of that, the final shape of this relationship can change depending on who names it first. And that was pile 2. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next reading. Bye! Welcome to everyone who picked the pile 3. If you're here, you're in the right place. So today's topic is, who is someone that likes you right now? You might already know who this is, or you might not. Either way, let's take a look and see who could be liking you. So first line, I'm looking at whether there's someone who likes you and what kind of person they are. So in this flow, when we ask, is there interest or not? The answer comes through very clearly. Someone is already aware of you, and this feeling is not a sudden curiosity or light attraction. It's something that's been building over time. This person is not the type to rush in the moment feelings appeared. They first read the atmosphere, watch your reaction, and try to keep the balance of the connection. So even though they like you, instead of showing it openly, they try to let it flow as naturally as possible. This person wants to do things for you, and they tend to express their feelings through, help, consideration, or small acts of care. Rather than a direct confession or, grand gesture or emotional declaration, they choose to stay nearby when you need something or keep the connection going without putting pressure on you. So from your perspective, you might think, do they like me or not? But from their perspective, they are already putting in emotional effort in their own way. This could be someone you work with, or if not, it looks like you've already shared some kind of experience together. It's a relationship where you've done something together before, so you're very aware of their existence too. The difference is that they're handling their feelings very carefully, almost letting them pass through, and they don't want to rush the pace of the relationship. So even though the attraction is there, you might not have noticed yet, or it hasn't shown up in a way that's obvious to you. So let's take a closer look at this person's personality and traits. This person's personality is not easy to define with just one word. On the surface, they might seem free spirit or spontaneous, but underneath that, there's actually a lot of calculation and judgment going on. It's not that they don't have anything to say, it's more like they filter their words one extra time and thinking like, is this the right moment to say this? So you can call them cautious, but honestly, I would say they're very quick to read the room and extremely aware of the atmosphere. When their heart moves, it moves fast and strongly. Once they feel interested, their energy lifts and their actions can become more active. But at the same time, they're always questioning whether that passion will last. So the moment they feel like they've crossed a certain line, they might suddenly slow down or change direction. And that's the part that can confuse you. Another important trait is that this person hides their inner world really well. Instead of showing insecurity, hesitation, or uncertainty, they tend to act light or pretend everything is fine. So the closer you get to them, the harder it can actually become to know what they're really thinking. They often avoid deep conversation or joke things away at important moments. At their core, they value freedom, but they are not completely irresponsible. Their way of taking responsibility just is not, I would say, it's not emotional. It shows up more as controlling themselves or the situation. So even in relationship, they want to hold the reins and feel in control, and they are not comfortable with unpredictable emotional flow. So now let's look at how this person is likely to act. Looking at their behavior, they are unlikely to suddenly rush toward you all at once. Instead, they will probably approach through very small gestures or cautious signals. Maybe their tones gets a little softer. Maybe they know a lot about what you're doing or how you're feeling, or maybe they don't talk much but step in with just the right words at important moments. The feelings are definitely there, but they will not say something like, I like you, let's go out, something like that. They'll watch your reaction first, then think about the next step. It's very much cautious approach. So from your side, you might keep wondering, is this interest or is this just, their personality? So you get confused. This is bit a side note, but when I've been doing personal readings lately, I see this type of person come up. I don't know if it's just the times we're living in or, but it feels like people used to be more honest and brave about love. These days, when the topic of a relationship comes up, everyone seems extremely cautious. Maybe it's because of past wounds, or maybe it's because they don't want to get hurt again. We never know, but that's the time we are living in. So when readings like this come out, people often ask me, then should I just give up or what? And honestly, the choice is yours. But through readings, we can get clues, and then you can adjust your actions based on the energy. And that's what we are doing now. Anyway, back to the readings. This person absolutely does not want to let go of their connection with you. At the very least, they want to maintain what you have right now. If you ask whether the relationship can progress, there are conditions. This person wants things to move in their way. And that doesn't mean like, selfish way, whatever they want. It's more like they want to decide the pace of progression, the pace of a relationship, the boundaries, and the depth of relationships according to what feels right to them, not you. So, looking at how this relationship might unfold in the future, to be honest, this connection is not really about a light, easy, comfortable kind of romance. Even if the relationship does develop, it shows a structure where wounds and burdens can keep accumulating. It looks like one person keeps enduring more, the other keeps calculating more. And there are repeated moments where the emotional weight is not evenly shared. If the their way we saw in third line never becomes something you both agree on, that imbalance grows. So over time, this relationship starts to feel less exciting and more heavy. You might have questions like, okay, do they really like me, or is it right to keep holding on to this? That kind of questions start to looping in your head more and more. And as those questions pile up, the energy shows emotionally exhaustion building. So eventually, this relationship is likely to pass through a moment where someone gets deeply hurt. In that process, you both see each other's limit, and you may have to accept that some emotional needs were never fully met. But looking at the sentence oracle card you pulled today, it says, trade your fear for curiosity. So instead of worrying just because this is how the result came out, if you like this person, try approaching them. When you start, while already knowing what the potential issues are, the outcome can actually change. And if you want to know how to move this person's heart more effectively, check out another reading for that. And that was pile 3. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next reading. Bye! Hello everyone who picked pile 4. If you're here, you're in the right place. So today's topic is, who is someone that likes you right now? You might already know who this person is, or you might not. Either way, let's take a look and see who could be liking you. So first line, I'm looking at whether there is someone who likes you right now and what kind of person they are. Compared to the previous piles, this flow very clearly feels like a connection that's still alive. You're both very aware of each other. There's a communication happening, and it feels like a situation where things could shift or change relatively very quickly. That said, this connection doesn't feel like a relationship that was clearly defined from the start. It feels more like something that's crossed the path once or twice already, or a connection that never fully ended and has been loosely continuing. It doesn't feel like a completely new stranger suddenly appearing. It feels more like someone you already know, or someone you know of but were never deeply involved with, where emotions are starting to move again. In terms of where this connection comes from, it's very likely tied to real life circumstances, like, it can be work related environments, or hobbies, mutual connections. And you and this person probably think about each other fairly often. And even if you're not directly talking all the time, you naturally come across updates about each other. This is not a connection where you fully pass by each other pretending you don't know one another. There could be light jokes, casual messages, and once a conversation opens, it can pick up speed pretty quickly. That said, it's not a deeply stable intimacy. The tone can change depending on the situation. For now, the distance between you is not extremely close, but it's not far either. You're not constantly in contact, but the emotional line is not cut. This person sees you as someone they could reconnect with at any time. So the way their interest shows up is not through a bold confession, but more through subtle attention, reactions, and careful timing. Their basic position toward you is that cautious observer, I would say. There are feelings, but they are not constantly questioning whether now is the right time to bring those feelings forward. Okay, let's take a closer look at this person's personality and traits. This person has a lot of energy and drive. They are clear about their opinions, they have leadership, and when something needs to be decided, they don't just let it slide. They take control and moving things forward. So from the outside, they can look confident and strong-minded. But at the same time, in relationship, they care a lot about balance and fairness. They don't move on emotion alone. They pause and check the situation first. In their connection with people, balance is very important to them. That balance could be about effort, expectation, emotional investment, or even practical things like, since this is a general reading, it's hard to say exactly which area, but they are very wary of relationships where one person gives more or expects more than the other. Because of that, they avoid diving too deeply too fast, and they tend to keep themselves one step back. They are easy to get along with and easy to become friendly with, but not easy to get deeply close to. So you might feel like we're close, but there's still a wall. And their dating style is similar. They are not the type to charge straight ahead. They are more the type who tests the ground first. Even if feelings exist, they don't rush into confessions or, push forward aggressively. They watch your reactions, read the situation, and wait for the timing. And naturally, that makes their pace slower. Their emotional expression is also very restrained. Even when they care, they minimize how much they show it. Rather than big actions, their feelings show up more through attitude and consistency. Instead of saying, like, I like you, they choose to keep the connection while maintaining boundaries. Because of that, their interests tend to last quietly but for a long time. So now let's look at how this person is likely to act. There's a strong chance that this person will make another small move toward you, either through words or actions. It won't be dramatic, romantic rush. It's more likely to show up as opening a conversation, continuing contact, or trying to shift the atmosphere a bit. They might joke around and briefly switch into a more serious tone. So if your reaction feels positive, they may gather a bit more courage and step closer, but your reaction feels negative for them, they may stop. So you might notice contact becoming slightly more frequent, more personal questions coming up compared to before. Rather than a direct confession, this feels more like a checking on you, seeing where you are at emotionally. This person may observe quietly for a long time and then at a certain point, try changing the timing. That change will not be dramatic, but it will be noticeable enough that you think like, oh, something feels a little different. For example, they might continue a conversation they used to leave vague or reach out when they technically didn't have to. Still, this is not about completely changing the relationship all at once. It's more about testing possibilities. Before fully moving, this person really wants to see your response. So, depending on how you receive it, their actions could continue or they could quiet down again. What matters here is that they're not doing nothing. Even at very slow pace, there is an attempt to shake the flow of the relationship at least once. So, let's see where this connection is heading. Okay, pile 4 shows the strongest chance that the relationship moves one more step forward. The feelings don't just stay internal. Through choices and conversations, things slowly progress. There may be moments where your different personalities clash slightly, but instead of avoiding or cutting things off, it feels like those moments help clarify how you guys would need to adjust to each other. So rather than being a connection that just passed by, this looks like something that reaches a point where a more serious conversation can happen, a stage where both of you become aware of how far you're willing to open this connection. And when we look at the sentence, Oracle message you pulled today, it says, let it be simple, let it be fun, let it be easy. I really want you to sit with the message and think about approaching this relationship in that way. And that was pile 4. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next reading.